Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Moletrap, and unfortunately, I can't be quite as enthusiastic. Well, I can be enthusiastic, but I'm probably not going to have as much energy as usual since I, as well as Color, have to speak a little bit quieter since I've got people in the house going to bed and sleeping, quote unquote, during the quote unquote night time. I don't know what's up with that. Psh. But while they're sleeping, they're missing out on Fantasy versus Mind Game 2. And this is going to be an interesting game. I did not think that they were evenly matched last week. I was pretty certain Mind was going to own Fantasy. Well, not own him, but I thought he was going to win. But due to some unusual circumstances, Mind did end up losing. I still think Mind might have an edge, but they're more evenly matched than I expected. So this second game on Return of the King is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, the last game, I believe, was on Plasma between Mind and Fantasy, and Plasma is the map that I like to say is, any build goes map is, pick your build, you want to go fast queens, there you go. One base carriers versus Protons, there you go. Valkyries, yeah, anyway, so Mind chose in that game to go for a fast Vulture drop against Fantasy. Unfortunately, Fantasy was thinking Mind would go for a different kind of cheese, two-port rates, but of course, his scanners and his Goliaths actually were quite good against Vultures with Mines, so worked out quite well. Anyway, so in this game, Mind is in teal at the 5 o'clock location, and Fantasy is in orange at the 7 o'clock location. So it's a must-win game for Mind here. Return of the King is, I think, is one of those maps that can definitely promote a long Tyrant versus Tyrant matchup. It reminds me a little bit of Wuthering Heights. Center part of the map is going to be very important for territorial control with siege tanks, and we might be seeing a lot of just staying on the siege tank level because there's fairly open ground, so you can sneak vultures around and do things like that without necessarily going to dropships. So I remember Wuthering Heights, you'd sometimes get to like 25-minute mark without any dropships being made. It was definitely interesting like that, but we'll have to see how these players open up and if it even gets to siege tanks, because I'm assuming a lot. Anyway, take it away, Diggity.
Taking it away. Honestly, I think this will go into dropships though, because it almost feels like there's a race to the middle, there's a race to the high ground, and a barracks being built at the forward location for who is that? It's hard to tell on the mini-map what color that is. Orange for Fantasy. Blanked there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, who's doing that? Anyway, but I do think this is going to be a pretty, although there's been kind of a rebirth of dropship. Interestingly enough, Mind putting down his gas before his barracks, so definitely thinking about going fast tech. He's got all 3 SCVs on gas right there, as you can see. So a little bit of a scouting advantage possibly for Fantasy with that barracks in forward position, but more gas for Mind early. And again, I really feel like this map, it's about establishing siege tanks essentially in the middle. It's about taking that ramp, taking that hit advantage, getting on the high ground, and then keeping it, and just denying expansions from that point in. You can flood units down, no problem, but going up the ramp, it's difficult on this map. It really does feel like Wuthering Heights 2.0. It just does kind of look like that. So anyway, it should be interesting to watch both these players. Mind known for being a very good with his timing pushes, and Fantasy actually he's shown some good stuff too, in my opinion.
Yeah, this sorry, I'm not sure. We'll have to see if it goes dropships or not. I think it might end up going dropships because there is kind of open territory in the middle, but then there's also the extremities of the map are very hard to navigate with a Terran army, especially if you're going from where these two players are, their two positions. The most direct route is through kind of a narrow passageway, so it might be hard for them to navigate that narrow passageway. With a normal army, they might end up getting dropships for that sort of thing. It all depends on what the layout of their armies ends up being and what have you, and I don't know why Fantasy is really, really into lifting his buildings today before using them. So he lifted his barracks, landed it again before producing a marine, lifting his factory to put it right back down. And a quick starport here from Mind. I think he planned this starport all along with the command center. So he's going to try and cover his expansion with some quick rates, kind of throw off. Actually, that's another command center coming from Fantasy as well. So both players going for pretty much the same thing, except Mind has a starport, and I'm not sure I haven't seen what Fantasy has that he spent that money on instead of a starport, but pretty kind of a usual thing to get. Well, Usually you get raised if you're going for a faster expansion. So I don't know. Maybe his mind's even going for very quick dropships, which didn't work for him on Plasma.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure. Did you? Are you sure you saw a command center going up for Mind? Because I
No,
think,
you know, maybe I saw
he-
fantasies and
yeah, I think
mine
Mind's
just.
just going straight for dropships here,
Oh,
and he
okay.
likes
I
lifting
must have
too. I
seen
think he's gonna
fantasies and I
go
thought it
for.
was in his base. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what I think he's gonna go for? I think he's gonna try to drop behind Fantasy's main base. That's right. In Return of the King, you have that
Oh,
tiny natural expansion behind your main, and if he can get siege tanks up there, it'll be absolutely crippling. But Fantasy, here comes Fantasy with the barracks, and oh man, mine's like, get back here, Marines! You need to shoot that barracks down before it scouts it. Yeah, he's pounding away at that barracks. Looks like the barracks is going to veer off course though, so it's going to avoid. He's going to force it away from seeing that starport. So Fantasy has no idea this is coming. Fantasy's gone for the fast expand, so this means all of his other tech will be significantly delayed. And Mind has built a couple Marines and a tank, so it might look like to Fantasy that he's going for a standard FD build into command center of his own. Of course, Fantasy will keep the barracks there, probably beyond Marine range, and then he'll be able to just try to figure out if there is an expansion or not going down. Mine, interesting enough, bringing a couple of SCVs out also, so I'm not sure what those SCVs are for. Oh, it looks like no, he's going to actually go for a push here. I see what he's doing. Actually building a Wraith, so I'm completely wrong. He's not going to siege the back of Fantasy's base.
Interesting build here. Looks like, yeah, he's going to establish the high ground quickly as possible. Fantasy going for taking an early lead here. 3 SCVs off the line with that Wraith in support, pushing up with those tanks, and there he is. He's going to put that bunker right on that ledge. He's going to try to make sure that Fantasy is blocked into a single expansion. Or yeah, a single expansion. I said that right. As you can see, Mine trying to bring back his barracks as well, establishing the high ground fairly quickly. But 2 factories down as well as we saw the armory down in the background as well. So we could see Goliath out a little faster. But the thing is the question is, can Mind hold this against the advantage that Fantasy is going to have as far as supply and unit production? And that's the real question in my mind. I don't know that he's going to be able to. At the very least, it looks like Mind is going to be able to take that barracks down, prevent additional factories from being planted off that second expansion, at least momentarily, because they don't see. It looks like, yeah, that no additional factories being put down before that barracks is collapsing. So at the very least, he's going to have a little bit of respite to create a contain there. Barracks burning on the ground here. Maybe just waiting the last second, so actually Fantasy still might get it down. That's going to be critical, because honestly, Mine just now getting his second factory up is going to be way behind on his additional expansion. He's going to have to rely very heavily on that contain.
yeah, I think he's got a pretty good contain set up here, though. Although, if Fantasy were to get some dropships, he could move out pretty easily. I think that might even be the reason why he got that Wraith, which might die here. Oh, barely getting away. Is because Wraiths are very, very good at stopping dropships from coming in. And, oh, Marines! Oh, Marines, pick it off! Marines for the win. Yeah, Wraith's very good at keeping dropships at bay, and I think that's kind of the disadvantage of Mine's build here, is that he might get caught by some dropships dropping all of his forces. But he's got a really nice contain setup, though. A couple bunkers. That second Wraith is going to be floating on top as well. Hopefully he'll get some Goliaths out to support that contain pretty soon as well. He's going to need those in the long run. Otherwise he will get overrun with drops or what have you. Fantasy doesn't seem too phased. He's just kind of going about his business. He's like, okay, that's cool. Contain me. Yeah, whatever. I'll just set up some tanks and we'll play World War I for a while, and we'll see what happens later on in the game.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed for Mine, actually. I really want to see one of these players abuse that ledge behind the main base.
Yeah.
I think it would just be... I actually thought, he had the time to get Siege Mode up and Wraith, so he could have gotten a dropship out. A pair of tanks back there I think would have been very hard to dislodge. With barely Fantasy having a tank siege mode, even though at the time he would have certainly stopped mining for a while. But anyway, it looks like both players have set out those siege lines, like you said. There is another exit and entrance to Fantasy's base, though, on the bottom there. I guess it would be at the 7 o'clock. There is another pathway, so we could be seeing one of the two players do something about it. Cloak going up also for Mine. So Mine's also going to be going for a couple cloak rates here, maybe just to help with spotting, maybe to help take down those tanks actually. Although actually with scanners and Goliaths around, I question if that is a great idea, because it seems a little bit late in the game for cloak rates. But you know, Mine knows better than me, I guess. He's getting a couple more rates and continuing to build it up. 3 factories versus 4 factories here, and most likely that starport for Fantasy is going to be for dropships. So we are going to be seeing both sides trying to basically dislodge the other side from this position.
Wow, I have to say that Mine's just really, it looks like he is going to hold this. This is paying off with that 1/3 mischance up cliffside. That was Mine showing his creativity, known for having just fantastically creative pushes right there. Losing a tank up on the ridge, I don't think that's going to hurt him too much, because he's got 2 tanks just coming up to support, and he's readjusting right here. Once again, and as you can see right here, just pushing up. This is going to be a critical moment right here, whether this contain will be broken or not. Looks like Mine is going to hold it, taking out 2 more tanks on the ridge, pushing that barracks up to get a spot, and taking an additional tank on top of that. So right now, winning the tank battle, looks like he's just going to leave that barracks to keep the spot up and take some damage here in the meantime. But that, yeah, those 3 SCVs, the Wraith, that's very creative. I don't think I've ever seen that before on a build, obviously on a contained build. I don't know if there was a ton of options to do so. Now those 2 Wraiths pushing in, trying to see, it saw that dropship, going to try to push and take care of it. Those 2 cloak Wraiths are going to easily be able, another Wraith coming in, I think that dropship's going to go down before it can unload its troops, and it does. Ouch! Fantasy really getting pinned back. Mine playing fantastically right here, very creatively as well, and taking a big advantage once it comes down to the mid to late game, where both players need to take an additional expansion. Mine's going to be at a huge advantage.
Yeah, Mine has taken a huge advantage of this game now. That dropship was kind of Fantasy's chance to kind of break back out and that sort of thing, and it just didn't work. I was a little disappointed in Fantasy there when he was trying to break out of that contain. He like set up all his tanks in a row and unsieged them all and moved them all forward and then re-sieged them. Except when he did it, he like put his SCVs in the way, so they sieged back up out of line, and so he wasn't able to focus his fire as much. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why his contain didn't get broken there. But in any case, losing that dropship was pretty critical. That was kind of his chance to try and strike back, and it did not work, and now Mind is going to be wary of it. I think one of the reasons why Mind went for Wraiths is so that he can concentrate more on tanks. He doesn't have to build any Goliaths, because really the reason you get the Goliaths is to prevent dropships from dropping on your forces, or to kill off dropships. And if you only need a few Wraiths to really accomplish that, whereas you know, if he doesn't have to spend that money on Goliaths. And you can see he's got 3 machine shops on his 3 factories, able to put out entirely tanks on the ground, and all he needs to do to cover for it is some turrets and some Wraiths. So he's going to be able to put out a lot more ground power in that sense.
It's absolutely ridiculous how many turrets Mind is putting up around Fantasy's base. I don't know if you noticed, there's a ring of turrets, a ring of fire there, reverse contain, and beautifully done. Basically also what he's done is deny the second expansion there at the 7 o'clock location from Fantasy, because he's got tanks and turrets protecting the tanks overlooking that area. Meanwhile, if he wants to, he can pick up his second expansion, which I believe is at the 3 o'clock location. I think he has an SCV there ready to do so. A lot of vultures, actually, interesting enough, out for Fantasy, and Fantasy now picks up the expansion behind his main base, but that's not going to give him that 3rd gas, which he needs desperately to be able to fight back in the long term with enough tanks to deal with this. So right now he'll have a little bit more in minerals, but that's not going to be that helpful at this point. He's probably limited entirely by his gas production. And more bunkers going up. Like you said, World War I here, indeed. This is really like, you know, sieging a medieval castle. He's got everything thrown up. Here comes Fantasy with possibly an attempt at breaking out. He's got, oh my goodness. I was going to say he has a chance there with the vultures, but he just melted to the bunker and to all those tanks. And wow, Fantasy has no tanks left. Crazy defense there by Mind.
That's what having the high ground can do for you in this game, and just that was clever though, knowing that he didn't have the gas to spend, running in those vultures to absorb hits and then trying to siege underneath. I have to say that was it was a good attempt, but tanks just up. That's what the tanks love. It's like, I can shell you from here all day. Mines being planted, he might be able to crack through at the 6 o'clock, at least off those 2 mines, but no, it looks like they were, wow, nice micro on Mind. Focus firing the mines from the 2nd tank and additionally doing splash on the vultures. That was beautiful micro right there on the spot. Anyway, and more vultures being dropped here at this location, more tanks to support. Again, I don't. Yeah, these vultures just not getting it done. This is Fantasy's last option here. Looks like those mines will go off and take off 2 tanks and an SCV, so a little victory there. Ouch. But yeah, mines in firm control. He's got an additional expansion. As soon as he caps that gas, he's gonna essentially own this game. That's the only thing that's stopping him at this stage. And just yeah, mostly vulture armor to try to absorb tank hits and get it underneath and just somehow break it for Fantasy here. But yeah, mine in firm control. Looks beautiful. This is a great container. It really does look like a working version of Metro. Yeah, essentially. I don't want to compare it to that though, because man, the French is just bad. Badly. Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah. I was a little bit curious why Fantasy moved out with those vultures the way he did. I would have expected that to be kind of the initial rush to kind of suck up damage before moving in with some tanks and try and break the contain, but he just ran the vultures to their deaths kind of suicidally, which I thought was an interesting strategy. He keeps running tanks into their deaths now suicidally, and that's kind of a cool strategy too. But I don't see it getting him too far in the long run. Random vulture running into its death. I gotta say, Mind has done a freaking beautiful job of doing this contain here. But Fantasy hasn't really done much to come back either. It looks like he's filling up for a drop, a decent little 3 dropship drop. This is Fantasy's last chance. He needs to accomplish some damage with this, or he is pretty much out of the game. Well, he's already kind of pretty much out of the game. But okay, that's kind of weird. Some vultures being dropped in a location over here, so they can get killed by the same tanks as before. He manages to get a few through. Yes, 4 vultures for the win. Alright, if Fantasy can just micro those vultures to take out every reinforcement tank of Mind's and every SCV that Mind has, Fantasy can still win this game.
Well, he's gonna try, it seems. Oh, Raid's coming back. Ouch. Raids are quite good against vultures. Looks like Fantasy also going to drop the entire load of probably 8 more or a dozen more vultures there. They're just gonna run past the tanks. No, they're gonna actually lay some mines and try to pick off some of these tanks. Doing a decent job there, but I think he's only gonna break at most part of the contain, the southern part of the contain, and that's it. He's still not gonna be able to pick up that natural expansion. It's just gonna break through with a couple of vultures, and a couple of vultures are just not gonna phase Mind at all. I have to say, this reminds me of the Great Wall of China, which you know, you could break through with a couple of raiders, but you know, it's still there like 3,000 years later or 2,000 years later after it's built. I guess it's not a great, it's not a great comparison either. Cause
yeah, we're bad with our comparisons today.
Yeah, tonight, because I was gonna say those vultures
the
are like.
Yeah.
You mean through Belgium?
Or Belgium.
But yeah. No, the Ardennes Forest is actually what they went through. But anyway, it reminds me. Well, I was gonna say the vultures are kind of like the Mongols, just breaching the wall and causing some havoc, fast moving. But then the Mongols also took over China for 100 years.
It's almost kind of like
not a good analogy.
Has like vultures, and then Mind has like tanks and turrets set up. And
in a game called StarCraft.
Oh wait. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Just pure tanks and turrets here. It's actually really interesting because normally Terrans don't do this. They don't build this many freaking turrets around your opponent's base.
Really cool.
What they do usually is they get a bunch of tanks together, they put up a couple of turrets, and then that's it. That's their contain, around a choke point. But what Mind has done, which I would love to see more Terrans do, is create like a real contain. Like there's not just a no drive zone. There's a no fly zone all around. And that's the difference between this kind of contain and a normal contain, where you can still circumvent it with dropships. I mean, Fantasy literally cannot get out. He's locked in.
Wow. And yeah, the dropship's loading up right now, but honestly, look at that. That's like tanks that there's so many tanks that they're so eager to go and attack stuff that they just keep running into each other like children running to chocolate or something. That's the look at all those turrets additionally. Poison chocolate. These guys are hungry for battle. They are just bloodthirsty, and those turrets are just ridiculous. Looks like once again there is going to be a drop. Keeps going for this weak side, but honestly, even if he can manage to break through this weak side contain, what is that going to accomplish for him? He does not have a steady stream for reinforcements. He's still going to have to rely on dropships, just moving groupings a little bit at a time, and you can see how many vultures got through a single tank right there. Kind of looks like Firebat Hero on second look. A little bit of a longer face. It's like the Firebat Hero and Best had a kid. That would be kind of gross,
And
actually.
Boxer.
And Boxer. Now, but anyway, yeah, this is a beautiful contain, I have to say, on Mine's part. This is absolutely gorgeous. I really am. I'm very impressed by this. Usually Terran contains aren't that exciting. It's just like, okay, you know, it did that. But look at this. This is gorgeous. That's something your mom can be proud of right there.
Ooh. So to
Oh, your
recap the
mom.
series really quick, in game 1, Mind went for ridiculous vulture drops the entire game and accomplished nothing. In game 2, Fantasy went for ridiculous vulture drops the entire game and accomplished nothing. And that group of tanks moving around looks like it's shifted over to the front. Mind looks like he's going for the killing blow here. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to break the ramp of Fantasy at this point, but he's going to be able to take out that expansion, and that is, and oh man, that's just beautiful. He's going to be able to take out this expansion. The expansion is almost mined out, which means his main is almost mined out, which means Fantasy is functioning entirely off of his island mineral only behind his base at the moment, whereas Mind has free reign of taking any bases that he needs. He's been spending so much on turrets that he hasn't really taken a lot of bases, but it just doesn't matter. So, wow, nice
Whoa.
vulture bombs.
Vulture
there.
bombs.
But,
That's what they are.
Too little, too late right
yeah.
now, I think.
Yep, it's been too little too late for a while. I mean, mine could have really, embarrassed him by going all battle cruisers, I guess. Just take over the map and go BCs, but it would have had the same effect at the end. It would have been victory because, because basically the reason why he won isn't so much because of his tank push, is because he's just been constricted to his main and one natural, and that's it. And these little attempts to break out with vultures, I mean, they're doing some damage. They're going to get a couple of these reinforcing tanks, might even pick off a couple of SCVs, but mine has at least 3 bases, if not 4, and he can afford to lose these SCVs. Looks like he might even use these SCVs to fight. Yeah, he's going to use the SCVs to push him back. And oh, that's 2 vultures killed by SCVs. Nice work. But yeah, it's pretty much it. Fantasy, I don't even think he has a mining base. I think he's just like in his main base right now, and he's just waiting for Supply Depot Heart to be drawn in the middle of the map. It reminds me a little bit of actually Much versus Firebat Hero in a humiliation game where Firebat Hero was literally in the end he had his main base. It was mined out, obviously, and there was no reason for him to stay in the game, but he still stayed. And when in StarCraft you get humiliated. Not saying that Mine's the kind of person who would do that, and obviously he hasn't won the series yet. But it is the kind of the point where you're past the point of no return, of no hope by many miles.
Here's the
Wow, yeah.
SCVs running in.
Yeah, there's GG right there.
Finally, GG's.
At least he gets the respite from the march of the SCV line there. He looks really frustrated there. He's like, you can tell what he's thinking on his face. Is first of all, how did that happen? I got contained, and then there was nothing I could do. And then how could I have possibly gotten out of that contain? You can see he's also scratching his head about that. And I don't know how. That was awesome. Beautiful play by Mind.
JJ.
Alright, and so we're going to be seeing the last game of this series now. Whoever wins will go into the round of 4. Stay tuned.
Thanks for listening.